Okay, we're going to do a sketch of this New York scene, and it's very complicated, and I thought I'd actually give this a try, though I've never done something with so many buildings and so many positions all at once. I think it's a really good photograph, but we'll see if we can pull it off. We'll see if we can pull it off in watercolors. 0.8, 0.5, 0.3 pigment liner. I'm also going to go and grab some flat pigment liners, flat edge pigment liners, so 2, 3 and 4 millimeter tips. The new sort of pens that I've been using lately, which have been fantastic, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'll probably use the full page with this and start with the 0.5. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the car is, smack bang in the middle of the scene, and I don't know if I want to actually put it there. I think I'll actually put it over a bit more on the right hand side. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get in the region over in the background, especially where the crowd finishes off, just underneath that building in the center. So there is a sort of stand where there's a bunch of people sitting on a stand, but just below that building, I'd say around about here is the horizon vanishing point. So over here, let's just draw in a little line like that, and we'll start with this as our base. So I'm going to go and draw in the police car and put it in the back. Remember, it's kind of like a box. It's kind of like a box, but the top of it goes up and then goes down. So we'll start with the back first. Put in relatively where the top is, there, and then it comes down here, like that. Then the front of it's about here. So you join the dots. This is the easy way. Join the dots. Draw the dots first, and then join them up, like that. Down here at the bottom, comes over here. Then you've got the wheel here, comes across here, like that. There, coming down here. Of course, you can, while you're at it, draw in part of the wheel. Okay, then you've got this bit here that then connects all the way across to this wheel at the front, which of course then comes out like this again. It's a little bit longer than the actual the car in the reference, but it doesn't matter. And well, actually no, it's not. I've just drawn the front of that other side a bit long. I can shorten that down a bit like this. There we go. So we have a car here, and do we want to make it a police car? Well, I don't know. Let's just put in the windows first. Here, there's one, and then the second window. Follow that along all across the right side of the car, and connect it up like that. Yeah. Looks kind of futuristic. I think I might leave it like this. Okay, just as a general kind of car shape. Okay, and now that we've got the car in, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to place everything else, such as the figures. So, we do have some figures walking through. There's one here, going to be behind the car there, and I'm just going to get in a leg and a leg here at the back. You're kind of walking towards the car. And maybe a larger one here as well, like this, just walking. This scene has a lot of figures in it, so we want to make sure that we've got some overlapping ones that help to create a bit of interest. Okay, so there's even some maybe behind the car, just walking behind, that sort of thing. Maybe some here, smaller ones. There's one here. Try to draw them in different kind of positions. This one's like walking in this direction, this one's walking this direction there. This one could be sort of arm out like that. This one could be just standing here on the side, maybe talking to this person here. There. Notice how I reduce the shapes down to very simple shapes. So, triangle for the legs, this rectangle for the body, head is basically an oval or a rectangular type of shape. Okay, behind this car, you'll notice there is also some kind of rectangular shape. It could be a bin or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it is, and that's a choice. You know, you can put it in if you want to. I'll add something in here. I don't really know what it is, but I'll just add it in because it looks, it interrupts that pattern of all the figures and keeps things interesting. There's another, you know, rectangular shape here. I don't even know what that is. We'll add that in. It's actually a statue, and it's probably of someone important. But I've never been to New York, so I can't say. If you know who it is, let me know. So statues, people often struggle with statues, but if you think about it, they're basically people. So as long as you draw a figure, color them in, because statues are normally the same color all the way through, then you've got a basic indication of a statue. Something like that. Okay, it doesn't have to be complicated. There's a street sign here coming down. It's really good practice just for drawing things in and not worrying all too much, especially about getting it in exactly. I'm just looking at shapes. Rectangle, sign, that's coming down. Okay. The side of this building here. Okay. Another thing you might want to do is also look at the larger, big shapes and try to draw them in first. So if we look at this, we've probably got a really big shape here in the background. This really large advertisement board goes all the way up into the sky. Okay, it's about this width. So we're going to estimate as well, mind you. Okay, so it's around this width, all the way up, and when we draw that in, we're in a better position then to figure out, well, where does everything else fit in here? Well, we've got these like 4 billboards, one up the top, so we can draw that in, 1, roughly where you think it might be. But remember, we've got to fit 3 more in. So the 2 coming down are going to be larger. 2. Okay, I'm going to change it up a little bit. 3. Yeah. And this one's kind of like 3 and a bit. There's another board there. Then 4 here. And actually we've got all people sitting on a stand or something over here in the background. And if you've got a smaller pen, you can go ahead and scribble in a few people sitting down on the up here or doing something or another. Not sure why they're sitting there, but something like this. Here we go. And have some figures that are closer towards the front there, kind of heading down, what have you. Okay, there's people. Looks like there's a speech or something going on. Okay, and so the way I'm going to draw them, I just overlap all the figures with each other, especially in a busy sort of scene like this. It's the only way to do it. Otherwise, it would be too much. It would be too much for me anyway. So I try to simplify as much as I can. And if you notice, I'm not lifting my hand off the paper. I'm just going and drawing these shapes in, which I'm hoping in time, with a bit more colouring in and identifying, will start to look like people. And they actually go up. There's a little escalator here. They're going up an escalator or something like that. It's not a huge deal. I have a few people in here like that. I'll draw some of that in later. There's a little sign here that kind of comes off here, comes down. There's more people. Could be an escalator or something going up there. Some of them standing at the top. And another street sign or a lamp post somewhere down here as well. There's another bit of this sign sort of sticking out here, like this. Again, if you want to put one in here, you can too. I thought I'll just change this one up a little bit. There's actually stick out a little bit more, some of them, like that. Just advertising all kinds of stuff. I don't want to say rubbish, but there we go. That's a bit of the little TV or something there. They're just rectangles, that's all they are to me. And this one kind of comes down and becomes, well, it looks to me like a shop or something down below. So I'm gonna just bring down these pillars as if they are kind of the start of a shop or something like that. And you could, I may darken in that section as well a little bit to indicate stuff that's going on. I'm really looking for ways to kind of just make this a little bit more three-dimensional. It just looks a bit flat. So I'm just, this is what I do. I add in a little bit of layering, a little bit of this boxiness on the side of what I'm drawing, and what that accomplishes is essentially makes it look like it's three-dimensional. Even these bits that are sticking out the back there like that really helps. And you know what? It's not the end. If you haven't got it in at the moment, you've still got lots of time later. So don't stress if if you missed out something or you feel that it just looks too flat. There's always options later. So the middle section is done. We've started with the easiest bit at the front, the middle. So always approach it from that sort of perspective. And by the time you've gone through, you've realized you've actually done the whole thing. So let's start out with the next easiest bit. Well, we've done the middle, so what can we draw in to combine the middle to the right hand side? Well, if we look here, we've got this escalator or whatever with people coming up, and then we've got some of these buildings here in the background. Okay, they're not exactly as they are in the reference, but they are similar, right? Okay, coming up, they get bigger and bigger until you get to a point where you start seeing the sides of them like that. Okay, and this is important because that's going to have light on it, and this is not. So drawing these rectangular boxes, remember the perspective as well has to be, it has to make sense. You know, this box, for example, on top, it looks like the tops of the buildings. You know, it's just a repeat of that on top. It could be a what is it? Balcony section, top section of a building. So that's going to have light. That's not, because the light's reflecting off the right side of that building, but not to this side here. So pick up some more. There's overlapping buildings. There's even one here. Something here. Okay. This is very chaotic, and certainly it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to get everything exactly. Even the statue's in a slightly different place. Yeah, so just accept it and move on here. And I use this as practice as well, so that I can find each time I do this, a more efficient way of drawing stuff in and estimating where shapes are. And down, that's the side of the building, and then we've got, what have we got here? We've got a big building that kind of goes out of the scene. Okay, oops, there, and then the side of it there, here, like that, and we have the good old big sign coming across here like that. Disappears out the edge of the screen, goes a bit higher, something like that. Okay, down and across, and we have got a building that runs off this side of the screen, but the page there. And we're almost done with this right hand side. Really, again, what we got to do is pick out some shapes and things that we want to add in here. So certainly a lot of these rectangles here, there's another one here, street signs, a fair bit of darkness in these regions as well. There's a building here beneath this signboard, and there's another sort of, looks like there's a building in construction, but you know what, I'm gonna make that building finished. So it's already constructed. We're gonna go into the we're going to go into the future. We're going to go time traveling. So there we go. That's the building. It's probably not what it looks like, but simplified down. Simplified down. And here we go. Got more signs. More of these rectangular signs running around all over the place. There's more over here. Okay, just continuing off and putting in a sign here as well. They're all just simplification, just making sure that you're adding in shapes that are roughly around in that location. And I think I've done that already around here, and I will actually go in with a darker marker in a moment to get in some more details in this section. But before I do, I'm just going to outline this car a bit more. I think what would help too is if I get in some of the figures behind the car with the darker pigment liner. That's going to certainly help. Now we do have some figures that are closer by. Maybe this one here, I can just draw in this figure that's a bit closer, like that. Maybe walking into the front of the scene here and kind of going through like that. There's a pot plant here. What is this doing? Just a pot plant in the middle of the street. So to simplify this down, we're going to come in like this top sign here, and here is a sign coming in like that. There's also a sign coming in like this, coming down. Say billboard there, coming down here, there, there's just another square shape like that. There's another one here. What else do we have? We've got these are just movie posters, essentially, just up against this building. Like that. Another one here that's like a bit closer, of course, but disappears off the screen. And then, of course, underneath is an area of it's a shopping area. So we've got a few people here walking through. Take a look. We do have more sections of this building running through like that. There, coming in like this, here, there. We're going to move this further down like this. Okay, that's the side of a shop like that. Let's try to get in some of these tricky bits up the top and go off the scene like that. There we go. It's just disappeared off. Actually, it kind of comes on an angle like that, one below. And there's buildings in the background, and again I'm going to swap to a smaller pen. This is going to make it easier for you to push that object backwards. Okay, there's the edge of that building, the other side, and the front of the building here. Okay, just coming in like that. I think bring this down, which actually goes all the way down beyond this sign, but we make do with that. But I'll put in this other building here. Again, just following this path downwards, like this. It's got an edge as well, around about here. And I'm following that down, again, just like that. And then we have the bit that connects onto this middle section. So, again, we just need to sort of think about where we want it to connect. I think we'll go around about here. Now, before I do that, actually, I'm going to start putting in some of these little signs. There's like a red sign here, for instance. There's a building behind there off in the distance that is very difficult to see. At the edge of that building, there's a building coming out the side of this one here. You can see it from the edge here. Okay, And then we've got one running across there and then reaching up on top of the building there. And we will continue putting in a few more details. What's this? Another sort of dark area here, running down the side there. Let's put in the figures running through the back. Lots of little figures overlapping and crossing over and creating chaos everywhere. And a little technique I'm doing here is I'm not taking the pen off the paper. I'm just causing a whole bunch of chaos here to make it look like we've got crowds of people, which we do, of course, but this is an easy way to do it. It's to make sure you don't spend too much time here, but spend as much time as you need if that's what you want to achieve. Getting more detail and just spend more time on it. I don't want to draw too much attention to these figures myself. I think they are great, but I want to focus more on the entire scene. Well, this one larger one moving in, I think we could do with a second larger one here as well. Walking into the scene like this, maybe a third over here, just a little bit closer, and we'll have the leg here, another leg here, like that. This car, I'm going to just define it a bit more definition, okay? There we go. That looks better. There's a bit more form in that car now. So we are really pretty much almost done with the drawing. I mean, the last thing that I would want to do is just add in, use this other thicker liner that I got, and it's going to help to get some darkness in this area and draw out some details. There is a flower pot here. I forgot to draw that in. So interesting, right? On it, it's just a flower pot in the middle of the street. There's a few here. I think it's the entry point to this area. So just indicated that very quickly. So let's go in with some of these thicker liners. Some of them are thicker and some of them aren't actually. There's 2, 3, and 4 millimeters. And I'm actually going to use the 4 millimeter one first so that I can get in large sort of dark areas. And the first thing I'll do is we'll get in this figure here, which is where I want to start. I'll just darken the shirt of that figure, make him go forwards, and a bit of the shadow to the right hand side. And I've kind of gone over this person's pants, so I'm going to just colour the pants in as well, black. And I'll join this up to the right hand side. We've got a shadow here too. And we can draw a bit of colour in for that figure at the background here, same sort of deal. And because you know there's a bit of an elevation as the people walk backwards, you see the elevation sort of goes up. And the thing you really want to do as well is emphasize some darkness behind these figures. Now it's probably not going to work as well for this one here, but as you can see I've left a little bit of white around this figure so that it will still sort of stand out a bit. Even these ones here, if you notice, just a little bit of cutting around their head like that. And there we go. We haven't gotten rid of the detail there. I think these are kind of shows and things, advertisements of shows, Broadway shows or stuff in the cinema. There we go, just a little bit of colour there for this billboard or something. Work on some of these buildings. I'm going to get some darkness here for that building and help join that onto that one on that right hand side, and it's always important to have some of this white coming through the building. So don't think that, you know, the whole thing we're just going to paint black. There's always going to be little lighter sections in there. We can simplify that down. Bit of darkness on some of these buildings, and one of the things you'll notice is that the buildings are actually darker on this side, even though the light source is coming from the left. The reason why is because we've got this gigantic building in the middle casting a shadow. So we're going to have a little bit of darkness running on those left sides of the buildings, and I think what's important as well is to carry this dark shape kind of across and make sure it joins up with some of these other buildings. And I'm just reinforcing the floors a little bit there, getting a teeny bit more detail. And here we go, just cutting around some figures and bits and pieces here, there. This is actually some kind of box which I will colour in to simplify down this. Okay. Yeah. Let's have a look. There is maybe another figure here. Let's get in another figure. There we go. There could be another figure there, but you know, it does certainly help to cut around that car a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing here with this side of the building. Let's bring this down to get in a dark area there on the side, and you know, maybe here as well, like that. Knowing the reference, it's actually lighter there, but I want to indicate maybe another building that's coming off and casting a shadow. Let's go with a bit of darkness on this one here as well at the back. A bit more here underneath this billboard, and this area here, there's a little bit of darkness on the edge. Now you can really go on forever and just do this stuff till you are happy with what it looks like. But remember that there's always a point where you need to say to yourself, enough's enough, and you're happy with how it looks. So I'm going to continue on with this, and again, you know, we do have some areas in here which are darker, which are great to use area to sort of cut around some of these other shapes. Okay, this there, swapped over to the 3mm. This will help as well. Before I do that though, I'm going to actually go through these ones, and we will get through the edges of this building like this here. Okay, and then this one here, you know, that's actually lighter. There's a sign on there with some logo there, so it's no big deal. But the interesting thing is, of course, that we have this side of the sign that's connected on, the side of the building, I mean, that's kind of connected on like that. And then we've got it joined on with these sort of bars running across, separating out some of these billboards and advertisements. So they're good to add in at certain points like that. Being super quick when you add them in as well. Don't spend too long doing them. Okay, so even though the light's coming in from that left hand side, it's still pretty you know, it's still pretty strong because the actual tone of these signs is quite dark. So I'm going to go get these in, and a bit here and there. Okay, like that. It's more kind of on that right hand side that you need to look into a bit more. And again, there's all kinds of signs and companies and things on here. I'm not going to really bother about that. I'm going to bother more about the colours of things. And let's have a look. Again, I'm going to exaggerate. Let's get some of this darkness running on that right hand side of the building there. Yep. And then we're going to get in a little bit more on the darkness on this side of the building. Let's just draw this edge in quickly, like that. This one here, drawing that edge, coming all the way down. We have got stuff here. We've got areas of the buildings that come down and then, retain a bit of light in the areas, and kind of look like they're poles and stuff running through. But apart from that, they kind of just cut around these figures, which is what I'm doing. I'm just drawing around the heads. Okay, and we can use that. Connect up to the buildings as well, like this. So let's have a look. That needs a bit of darkness in here. That's the right hand side of this building. Now, forcing yourself to put in the dark areas, and selecting either light or a dark tone here, which is basically just leaving it white, creates a very stark, almost looks like a comic book style illustration. And it's something I've been looking into a little bit more lately. That sort of graphic novel type style of illustration. So tires, a bit of that in like that. Another thing we might notice is the car here, the windows do have elements of light and dark in them as well. Okay, underneath the car you're going to have darkness running all the way towards the wheel. Okay, underneath like that, then towards the front of the car, running through the figures towards the back end, and the shadows of these figures passing underneath the car. That's very interesting. This tire as well. These kind of long form shadows, basically. Yeah. Just darkening up some of the figures, extending the legs out a bit more as well, like that, as you notice. Let's get in a long form shadow running towards the right. Look at that. Large sort of shadow. I can extend out the end like this and put in a head. There we have figure and a shadow, and a figure there, shadow there. Let's do the same here. Figure there. This can sort of join on so that it looks like two shadows joining on to each other. Let's do it for this one. There, that, here. Don't overthink it. Legs here. I forgot to draw the legs. And long form shadow. Whoops. Made a mistake, but let's continue on anyway. Notice how these shadows bring so much more dimension and depth into what you're drawing. I'm only just looking at the tones. Okay. I might colour this shirt in of the figure because I made a mistake. Drew that shadow all the way through this figure, so the only way I can sort of get it consistent, draw a line through, there's some legs here as well. I might also just colour this person's legs in and get a long form shadow just running across, connecting on. There's a sense of connectedness along this whole scene. Just like that. And if we swap to another pen, 2mm liner, go in and do some of this stuff in the back areas as well. It's just less obvious, but keeps a sense of consistency through. As you move back, you'll notice it just becomes very abstract. These new pigment liners are my new favorite thing. Basically, these flat pigment liners. I've never experienced something like this before, it's just been able to speed up my progress in terms of drawing so much more faster, because it allows me to get in shapes more accurately in just a few little strokes. And the style that it provides is also something that really fascinates me. So let me just try this pen. This was drying up on me last time, but I probably had left the cap open. So, you know, we might have a section here of, yep, and it's definitely still dry. Just use this one. The darkness there. And, you know, we do have all this stuff essentially in here, basically signs and edges of buildings, that kind of stuff. In the middle of the billboards there's a spacing, often like this, so we can take advantage of this and connect shapes, and underneath you might find shadows, so you create darkness. Okay. If you can draw something with just a few lines, why not do that? This again is one of those long signboards or something here, top of that building. Doesn't matter what it says. The main thing is the perspective of it. It's crucial. Okay. Fantastic. We'll have some darkness underneath here, and connect this up a bit like that, so that we get some darkness running through the background. Also some structure, poles and things like that, some signs, okay, bottoms of buildings, that kind of thing. Okay, but just go around the heads like this. Okay, just cut around the heads with that marker, and you'll be able to get in pretty much the details. So I'm finished with that sketch. Let's put in some colours. I really want to get in the lighter portions of this scene. So firstly, I will put in just some warmth in here. I've got some Hansa yellow, and let's have a bit of fun. Let's put a bit of Hansa yellow here. This is a very colourful scene, and they're perfect for this sort of style. If you do paint in a colourful sort of manner like I do, bit of perylene red in here, like that. You know, I've got all kinds of colours. I've got some quinacridone colour here as well. You know, just putting in bits and pieces. This is a quinacridone orange as well. We can add in up the top like this. How about a bit of ultramarine? A little bit of this turquoise colour might actually be better in here, but it's dulled down a little in there. Some quick colours, some more yellow in here. Let's put in some of this yellow ochre as well. Yellow ochre coming down like that. A bit more yellow ochre up here for this one, that building. Okay, we're going to come down orangey colour like this. There. In here, a bit of blue at the bottom. Just a bit of this ultramarine in here. And let's have a go at some of these other buildings. A bit of tiny bit of lighter colour here. Just sort of still needs to be darkened down a bit, but yeah, kind of a warmer colour there, here. And don't be afraid to leave some of the white on the paper as well. A bit of lavender here. Okay, it's kind of like a violet-y colour. We've got some blue. We can put some darker ultramarine coming through and mixing in a bit more here to get just a slightly darker consistency. Okay, and we can go more quinacridone again there. Okay, just mix some of this in, and then a bit more of that blue over here. Okay, some of the signs and stuff like that. Let's put in some of the yellow ochre here for that side of the building, and blue on that right hand side, just a cooler colour. Okay, bring that down like that. Bit of yellow for the side of the building. Okay, and bring that yellow across the page. Bit here, here, bit here. Okay, got a fair bit of yellow in already. So this is kind of a neutral tint that I can just quickly grab. I will just use this and colour over a lot of these figures here at the bottom if I can. Not all of them, but some of them for sure. Okay, a bit of just a neutral tint colour to get in, yeah, just a bit of general colour over the top. I don't want to go down too far because I do want this area here to be fairly light, but a bit of yellow ochre would actually be nice here on the ground. Just a light shade of something here on the ground would be nice. Just yeah, do have some of this neutral colour, which is good. So coming all the way down there, again more of that yellow ochre. This just a very watered down colour. Buildings here on the left, some more colour in this one, bit of blue further down here for this one, here, because we've got a bit more of a shadowy area down the bottom. It's just darker, ultramarine. Okay, ultra up the top, a little bit of ultra up the top as well. That. And of course we have forgotten the sky, which needs a light wash of blue. Very light wash of blue. So, just putting some of this in. I mean, if I can get a bit of a purplish colour, that would be nice as well. There. We don't need to worry too much about cutting around, just in some areas. Leave a bit of white, other than that just let it mix together, you'll be okay. A bit more here. It's kind of greyish blue, changes colour. A bit more blue in there. But it does have to be very light. The sky will be the lightest part of this whole painting. There. Just get it in. Okay. If there's not enough colour in there, again, not enough blue, just pick a bit more up from the palette and drop it straight into the sky, and you might get a bit of that coming in like that. Car I might just leave as well. The figures we will add in little bits of colour for some of them. Let's go with some yellow for this one. Let's go with some red for this one. We can go with a bit of blue inside here for this one. A bit more of this colour. So we just change the colours around a bit, and you can also just use neutral tint to colour in some of the ones in the background a bit. Simplify them down. Go with a bit of this carbazole violet here. Let's try some of this. It's a very light sort of violet colour. Well, when you dilute it down, that is. Right. Just change it up a bit. These people. Some here. A bit more here. It's just colours. Okay, if you've got an area that's too much as well, just feel free to lift off the page. Okay, we'll leave this to dry and then we'll add in some final shadows. Okay, I'm going to be doing some last finishing touches on this, and really all I'll do is just put in a few small shadows and call it done. I'm quite happy with the style of how this one looks at the moment, so I don't really want to mess anything up, but I do feel that it needs a little more, just a little more darkness, especially on the right side of these buildings here, to just indicate that light source to the left more. So here we go, just some of this ultramarine blue, French ultramarine, plus a bit of the pyroline red that I have. Okay, I'm going to colour this side in with this brush. And the great thing about using ultramarine is that for most cases, you have to check with the brand, is that it actually granulates, and when you mix it with other colours, it creates a very, very interesting granulation effect as you see the colours sort of split and separate, that kind of thing. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just darkening down the building in the back marginally. Remember, stuff in the back does need to be a little lighter than what's in the front, so don't overdo it. I do think perhaps I can darken down this building. I was thinking what to do with it before. Just a little bit here, and then over the back like that, just to create a silhouette-like appearance there. It was looking a little too light before, and you know, looking around here as well, we might put a bit of darkness up here. This bit here is just to indicate the buildings, the shadows from the buildings here hitting these buildings. But for the taller ones, because there's no buildings casting shadow, we can go straight in to this area here and put in a little bit of dark color. Oops. Yeah, I'm just using a bit of that ultramarine mixed with a bit of that pyroline red to create a nice purple color, like that. And you know, while I'm at it, I'll probably just darken down this side a little as well, here. I feel that just looks a bit too light there. Fantastic. Bit of blue here on top. Drag some of that down. And I think I'll actually just leave it as that. If you like this video, check out the playlist on the right. I release new tutorials and art supply reviews each week to help you progress faster in your watercolor journey.